There's a hidden cost to how most Americans over 60 begin their mornings. And it's not just about energy or productivity, it's about your muscles. What if I told you that the way you wake up, move or don't move, eat, hydrate, and even think in the first 90 minutes of your day could be accelerating sarcopenia? That's the scientific term for age-related muscle loss. And it doesn't just affect your biceps or how much you can lift. It's directly tied to your longevity, your immune system, your blood sugar regulation, and even your brain health. In fact, one groundbreaking study published in the Journal of Gerontology found that lower muscle mass in older adults strongly correlates with increased risk of insulin resistance, depression, and cognitive decline. What's happening in your muscles is often a mirror for what's happening in your entire body, especially as you age. Yet here's the startling truth. Most people aren't losing muscle because of age alone. They're losing it because of subtle, repeated mistakes they make, especially in the morning, without even realizing it. From skipping protein at breakfast to missing the critical movement window that activates muscle-preserving genes, to unknowingly triggering inflammation or cortisol spikes that break muscle down faster than your body can rebuild it. But here's the encouraging news. These mistakes are fixable. And more importantly, your body is still highly responsive to change even after 60. Research shows that with the right habits, muscle tissue can not only be preserved, it can grow even in your 70s, 80s, and beyond. In this video, we'll unpack the 5 most common morning mistakes that silently sabotage muscle health in older adults. And more importantly, I'll show you the science-backed strategies you can start using tomorrow morning to transform your muscle health. We'll explore how morning hydration affects muscle metabolism, how the timing of your first movement sets off a cascade of cellular repair, and how certain breakfast habits either build your strength or chip away at it. This isn't about chasing youth. It's about preserving power, protecting resilience, and reclaiming control over your physical future. One morning at a time. Mistake 1. Skipping breakfast or delaying protein intake. Let's begin with a habit that's surprisingly common among Americans over 60. Skipping breakfast or significantly delaying your first meal. For many in places like Phoenix, Arizona or Tampa, Florida, it's unintentional. You wake up, get moving, have a bit of coffee, and hours go by before your first real meal. Maybe you're running errands, reading the newspaper, or simply don't feel hungry yet. But after 60, this delay can quietly undermine one of your most valuable assets, your skeletal muscle. Here's what the research reveals. Muscle protein synthesis, the process your body uses to repair and build muscle, is most responsive when your system has been fasted overnight and is then fed the right amino acids. Think of it like a construction site. Your muscles have been in repair mode all night, and they're ready for the building materials first thing in the morning. But if that window is missed, your body shifts from an anabolic building state into a catabolic one, where it starts breaking muscle down for energy instead. Consider Margaret from Denver, Colorado, a 72-year-old retired teacher who noticed she was feeling weaker during her daily walks. She had developed a habit of having just coffee until noon, thinking it was helping her maintain her weight. What she didn't realize was that her muscles were essentially cannibalizing themselves each morning, waiting for the protein they desperately needed. In a comprehensive 2016 study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, researchers followed older adults for 12 weeks and found something remarkable. Those who consumed 25 to 30 grams of high-quality protein within 1 to 2 hours of waking maintained significantly more lean muscle mass compared to those who delayed intake. This aligns with a principle known as the muscle full effect, a critical period when your muscles are primed to absorb and utilize amino acids efficiently. Miss that window, and the benefit drops off dramatically. Have you ever felt more fatigued or mentally foggy by mid-morning after skipping food? That's not just blood sugar fluctuation. It may be your muscles signaling that they're under stress, especially in older adults. The body becomes more resistant to anabolic stimuli, meaning it needs more precise timing and more consistent protein dosing to maintain muscle mass. Here's something that might surprise you. Muscle isn't just for strength or appearance. It's a metabolic powerhouse. It helps regulate blood sugar, supports immune health, and serves as a reservoir of amino acids your brain and organs rely on during stress. When you skip that morning protein, you're essentially telling your body to raid this precious storehouse. So what's the solution? Within 60 minutes of waking, aim for 30 to 40 grams of high-quality protein, ideally with leucine-rich sources. Think scrambled eggs with cheese, Greek yogurt with nuts, a protein smoothie with whey or pea isolate, or even lentils and quinoa if you prefer plant-based options. Include some light resistance activity, even simple stretches or resistance band exercises before or after breakfast to amplify the muscle sensing effect. The combination of movement and amino acids sends a powerful signal to your body: preserve muscle, rebuild, stay strong. This isn't about rejecting intermittent fasting entirely if that's something you practice. It's about adapting the science to your phase of life. Over 60, the cost of delayed protein intake is simply higher, and the payoff for correcting it is substantial. Mistake 2. Starting the day completely sedentary. Let's talk about what you do, or don't do, with your body in the first hour after waking. For many Americans over 60, mornings are slow and sedentary. Perhaps you're like Robert from Sarasota, Florida, who starts each day by settling into his favorite armchair with the morning paper. Or like Dorothy from Portland, Oregon, who spends her first hour checking emails and social media on her tablet. You ease into the day with some reading, maybe a leisurely breakfast, or simply sitting quietly. That may feel restful and civilized, but metabolically, it could be the exact opposite of what your muscles need. What's happening in your body during that early window is truly remarkable. After a night of sleep, your circadian biology is primed for movement. Levels of hormones like cortisol and adrenaline naturally rise to promote alertness and readiness. This is your body essentially saying, let's move, let's get going. And when you do respond to this call, even with just 10 to 20 minutes of low-intensity movement, you unlock powerful muscle-preserving and energy-regulating effects. Here's what the cutting-edge research shows. Light movement in the morning activates something called PGC1, a master regulator gene that promotes mitochondrial biogenesis, muscle repair, and fat metabolism. In simpler terms, a short walk around your neighborhood, light stretching in your living room, or body weight resistance exercises first thing in the morning send a strong, clear signal to your muscles to stay active, functional, and strong. In a fascinating 2021 study from the Journal of Cachexia, Sarcopenia and Muscle, researchers discovered something remarkable about older adults who performed light morning movement, even before breakfast. These participants showed improved insulin sensitivity, increased satellite cell activity, which is crucial for muscle regeneration, and reduced inflammatory markers throughout the day. Compare that to a completely sedentary start, where muscle tissue goes unstimulated and catabolic processes like protein breakdown begin to accelerate. The muscles receive no input, no signal that they're needed, so they begin adapting to less demand, and over time, they shrink. Think about it this way. Your muscles are like employees who need to know they have a job to do. If you don't give them any work in the morning, they start to assume they're not needed and begin to shut down operations. But here's the encouraging news. You don't need a gym membership or expensive equipment. You just need intentional movement. Within 30 to 45 minutes of waking, engage in 5 to 15 minutes of low-impact activity. This could be a brisk walk around the block, a short yoga sequence in your living room, or even standing calf raises and wall push-ups indoors. The goal isn't to exhaust yourself, it's to activate your systems and send the right signals. This morning movement also enhances muscle protein sensitivity later in the day, meaning when you eat lunch or do a more structured workout, your body will respond more efficiently to those stimuli. If you're finding this information helpful, please give this video a like It helps us reach more people who could benefit from these insights about maintaining strength and vitality after 60. Mistake 3, ignoring proper hydration. Let's shift to something that seems simple but is often overlooked. Proper hydration. Most people don't think of water intake as having anything to do with muscle health, but the connection is profound and real. And for older adults, it's especially critical for maintaining strength and preventing injury. Here's what's happening in your body overnight. While you sleep peacefully in places like Austin, Texas, or Seattle, Washington, your body continues to lose water through respiration, perspiration, and urine production. By the time you wake up, you're in a state of mild dehydration, even if you don't feel particularly thirsty. And if you delay proper hydration by hours, focusing instead on just coffee or tea, your blood becomes more viscous, circulation slows, and muscle recovery, especially after any physical activity from the previous day, becomes significantly compromised. Consider the case of William from Charleston, South Carolina, a 68-year-old retired contractor who couldn't understand why he felt so stiff and weak in the mornings. His routine included 2 cups of black coffee before noon, but no water. He assumed that coffee was sufficient for his fluid needs. What he didn't realize was that his muscles were essentially operating in a dehydrated state for the first several hours of each day. A comprehensive 2019 study published in the journal Nutrients showed that even 1 to 2% dehydration significantly reduces muscle endurance, impairs balance, and increases the risk of falls in older adults. Even more concerning, another study in the Journal of Applied Physiology found that dehydration directly impairs muscle protein synthesis, meaning your body becomes less effective at repairing muscle tissue after activity or minor injuries. Think of your muscles like a well-hydrated sponge. When properly hydrated, they're elastic, responsive, and efficient. When dry, they become stiff, less coordinated, and much more prone to damage. It's also worth noting that electrolyte imbalances, particularly low sodium or potassium levels, are more common in older adults due to medications or natural hormonal shifts. These imbalances can significantly impair muscle contractions and contribute to cramping or weakness. Here's a key point that many people miss. If your morning coffee or tea is your first fluid intake, it may actually be doing more harm than good for your hydration status. While coffee isn't necessarily dehydrating in moderate amounts, it doesn't count as effective hydration on its own, especially without electrolytes or plain water alongside it. The solution is straightforward but powerful. Within 15 to 30 minutes of waking, drink 12 to 16 ounces. That's about 350 to 500 milliliters of water, ideally. Add a pinch of high-quality sea salt or an electrolyte mix containing magnesium, sodium, and potassium. This helps restore plasma volume, supports cellular hydration, and kickstarts both digestion and circulation for the entire day. Here's a bonus tip that can make a significant difference. Drink your water before your coffee or tea. This improves absorption and reduces the risk of that mid-morning dehydration fatigue that so many people experience. Proper hydration isn't just about quenching thirst. It's a fundamental trigger for muscle efficiency, metabolic clarity, and sustained energy regulation, especially as you age. Mistake 4, high sugar, low protein breakfast choices. Now let's examine a common breakfast mistake that feels comforting and traditional, but can quietly sabotage muscle preservation over time. I'm talking about starting your day with meals that are high in sugar and low in protein. Think about the classic American breakfast: toast with jam, breakfast cereals with milk, a glass of orange juice, or even just a banana with coffee. These options are convenient, often marketed as light or heart-healthy, and they're certainly familiar. But what they're doing biochemically is often the opposite of what your muscles need, especially after 60. Let me tell you about Helen from Minneapolis, Minnesota, a 65-year-old retired nurse who prided herself on eating a light breakfast. Her typical morning meal consisted of whole wheat toast with strawberry jam and a glass of orange juice, totaling maybe 5 grams of protein, but over 60 grams of sugar and refined carbohydrates. She couldn't understand why she felt so tired by 10 a.m. and why she seemed to be losing strength despite staying active. Here's what the research reveals about these high-carbohydrate, protein-light breakfasts. They spike your blood glucose dramatically, causing a sharp rise in insulin followed by an inevitable crash. This crash increases hunger, irritability, and fatigue. But more importantly, from a muscle perspective, it raises cortisol, your body's primary stress hormone. When cortisol is elevated consistently, it becomes catabolic, meaning it actively breaks down muscle tissue for energy. A significant 2020 study published in Diabetes Care found that older adults who consumed high-carbohydrate, low-protein breakfasts had elevated post-meal inflammation markers and reduced muscle protein synthesis compared to those who ate more balanced meals. When this pattern happens daily, the metabolic cost accumulates rapidly. Over time, it creates a destructive cycle. You eat a quick, carb-heavy breakfast, your blood sugar crashes, you feel tired and sluggish, you move less throughout the day, and muscle breakdown begins to outpace repair. Here's something crucial to understand. Your breakfast sets the hormonal and metabolic tone for your entire day. If it starts off unstable, with dramatic blood sugar swings, your body becomes more prone to storing fat, losing lean tissue, and experiencing mental fog and energy crashes. The solution centers on a fundamental principle. Anchor your breakfast around protein first, not carbohydrates. Aim for at least 25 to 30 grams of protein, and pair it with healthy fats and slow-digesting carbohydrates like steel-cut oats, berries, or vegetables. Try options like scrambled eggs with spinach and avocado, plain Greek yogurt with chia seeds and fresh berries, or a protein smoothie made with whey protein, ground flaxseed, and frozen blueberries. Avoid ultra-processed cereals, white bread, pastries, and fruit juices in the morning. These lead to sharp glucose swings and poor satiety, meaning you'll feel hungry again quickly while your muscles remain undernourished and your energy levels remain unstable. Remember, breakfast isn't just a social ritual or cultural tradition. From your body's perspective, it's a biological decision point that influences your metabolism, energy, and muscle preservation for the entire day. Your muscles are literally listening to what you choose to feed them first thing in the morning. Mistake 5. Starting the day with high stress and poor light exposure. The final morning mistake that undermines muscle health after 60 might surprise you because it's not about food or exercise. It's about how you start your day mentally and emotionally, and whether you're getting proper light exposure. Let me explain why both of these factors are crucial for muscle preservation. Every morning, your body naturally releases a surge of cortisol as part of your normal circadian rhythm. This cortisol awakening response helps you become alert, mobilize energy, and prepare for the day ahead. But here's the critical point. If your morning stress levels are elevated beyond this natural response, if your mind is racing with anxiety about the day ahead, if you're immediately checking negative news or social media, or if you're anticipating conflict or overwhelming responsibilities, your cortisol spikes much higher and longer than necessary. Take the example of Patricia from Tucson, Arizona, a 70-year-old retired administrator who started each morning by immediately checking her phone for news and messages before she even got out of bed. She was often upset about political developments, family drama, or concerning health news. By the time she had breakfast, her stress hormones were already elevated, and she noticed she felt anxious and weak throughout most mornings. Chronically elevated cortisol is one of the most destructive forces to muscle tissue over time. A comprehensive 2014 review in Frontiers in Neuroendocrinology found that sustained cortisol elevation contributes directly to muscle protein breakdown, impairs regeneration processes, and reduces the production of growth hormone, which is already naturally declining with age. Even worse, cortisol also inhibits insulin sensitivity, meaning your body becomes less effective at using nutrients to repair and build muscle tissue. Here's the concerning reality. You could eat the perfect breakfast, take the right supplements, and still lose muscle ground if your nervous system is chronically in a fight-or-flight state. Your muscle cells don't distinguish between cortisol release because of a real physical threat and cortisol release because you're reading stressful headlines before you even get out of bed. Now let's talk about light exposure, which is intimately connected to your stress response and muscle health. Your body operates on a 24-hour circadian rhythm that governs everything from hormone production to metabolism to cellular repair. The most powerful way to synchronize this rhythm properly is through morning light exposure, particularly natural sunlight.